Hello, sports fans. It is Tuesday, October the 20th, the year 2015. And as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Great to be back with you guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed the games the last few days. I'm very under the weather, so bear with me. I'm going to get right to the picks, so without further ado, let's get to our NFL picks for week number 7 in the league where they play for pay. And let's get right to it. Let's get to the Thursday night game where the Seattle Seahawks are -6 against the San Francisco 49ers out in San Francisco. Both teams come in 2-4. Seattle let yet another lead slip away as they blew leads to Carolina of 20-7 and 23-14 in the fourth quarter. Seattle lets another game get away. Remember, they let that Cincinnati game get away when they were up 24-7 late in the game. So Seattle having all sorts of trouble holding on to leads. San Francisco did beat Baltimore. They're showing signs of life. Listen, I know a lot of people are writing Seattle off. A lot of people are saying they're finished. Pete Carroll's going to leave. I'm not quite ready to give up on Seattle. If you remember last year, Seattle was stumbling and bumbling at the beginning of the season. They were a couple games back of the division. They rallied late. They beat the Cardinals a couple times down the stretch. Remember, they still play Arizona a couple more times. We've only played 6 games. Too early to write off the Seahawks just yet. They have so much talent. I'm not ready to write them off. I think this is a big game on Thursday night. If they can win this game, they're 3-4. They're back to their winning ways. I think Seattle is going to handle business here. I know San Francisco has looked decent the last couple of weeks. They've looked better on offense. But let's make no mistake about it. They just beat Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore is no great team. They're 1-5. Baltimore looks like a disaster this year. So I'm not quite ready to pick San Francisco yet. So I'm going to take Seattle. I don't think they're done. I think they're going to rally. I think they're going to, make a move. I think there's still time for them. And I think they get it started this week. They actually hang on to the lead, and they get the job done out in San Francisco on Thursday night. Pick number 1, Seattle, -6 against the Niners in Santa Clara. Let's go to the Sunday games. Let's go to London. You know how much I love those London games where the Buffalo Bills are -4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo, very disappointing, 3-3. They got manhandled by Cincinnati over the weekend. Jacksonville, 1-5. What else is new? They lost to Houston. You got to like Buffalo here. I know you don't know who's quarterbacking Buffalo, and they got a ton of injuries, but come on, you can't take Jacksonville here. Buffalo has to win this game. They cannot afford to lose this game and go to 3-4. Can't lose to Jacksonville. Can't do it. I don't think they will. Jacksonville looks like a dreadful team again. They played a terrible game against a mediocre Houston team. I think Buffalo is going to handle their business here. The spread's only 4. I got to gobble up Buffalo here. Buffalo -4 against Jacksonville in London. That's pick number 2. Pick number 3, let's go to St. Louis, where the St. Louis Rams are -5 against the Cleveland Browns. St. Louis 2-3 off a bye. Cleveland 2-4 had the heartbreaking loss to Denver. Could have won that game a million and one times, but Denver as usual finding ways to win. Cleveland as usual finding ways to lose. Cleveland has showed me enough the last few weeks that I think they can hang in this game. The spread is 5. I mean, I think Cleveland, they've shown me enough the last few weeks. Now, I never trust Cleveland. I would never pick them outright to win. I think they can cover this spread. So I'm going to take Cleveland +5 here in St. Louis. I think it's a close game. Cleveland has showed me some life. They can move the ball now. St. Louis, they're kind of up and down. So I'm going to take Cleveland here with the points to keep it close. Cleveland +5 in St. Louis is pick number 3. Pick number 4, let's go down to Miami, where the Miami Dolphins are -4.5 against the Houston Texans. Miami is up to 2-3 after they just obliterated Tennessee over the weekend. Houston is up to 2-4. They beat Jacksonville, like I said. I gotta like Miami in this game. Miami showed me a lot. I know it was against Tennessee, but they blew Tennessee out. They fired their coaches a week ago, Miami. The new coaching staff seems to have a new life implanted in this Miami team. I think Miami's going to start to play a lot better from here on out. This is a team they can handle. Houston is a team you definitely can handle. They're not that good of a team at all. For most of the game against Jacksonville, they struggled before they pulled away late. I think Miami can handle this mediocre Houston team, especially down in South Florida. I'm going to take Miami -4.5 against Houston in South Florida. That's pick number 4. Pick number 5. Let's go up to New England, where the New England Patriots are -9 against the New York Jets. New England, of course, 5-0, beat Indianapolis again. What else is new? Jets are very impressive, 4-1. They handled Washington in the second half of that game. The Jets are doing some really nice things with the new coaching staff. The running game for the Jets is absolutely awesome. The Jets are putting together a nice, solid team. The defense is very, very good. This game is for first place. I think the spread is a little high at 9. Now, I know the Patriots can put up points, at will, and it's always dangerous going up against New England. I got to think the Jets are going to hang in this game. The Jets' defense is very, very good. I think that's going to keep them in the game. Jets have a good running game. I think they can do some things against that New England defense. I don't love that New England defense. I don't love it. So I think the Jets can hang around in this game. Listen, am I going to pick them to win the game? No. I'm going to pick them with the 9 points to hang around with their defense, with their running game. Big rival, first place on the line. I'm going to take the Jets +9 up in New England to keep the game close. That's pick number 5. Pick number 6. Let's go to Detroit, where the Minnesota Vikings are -2.5 against the Detroit Lions. Minnesota is 3-2. They beat Kansas City over the weekend. Detroit 1-5. They were lucky to beat Chicago. They got a lot of breaks in that game, but they did get their first win of the year. Listen, when I look at this game, I think Minnesota is just better than Detroit. I don't think much of Detroit at all this year. Like I said, they were lucky to beat Chicago. Had a lot of calls go their way. I don't think much of Detroit at all this year. And I actually think Minnesota is a decent team. I really do. So I think Minnesota is going to handle their business here. I think they're going to go into Detroit and win this game. Ride Adrian Peterson. I think he's going to have a big game against that Swiss cheese Detroit defense. I like Minnesota -2.5 against Detroit. That's pick number 6. Pick number 7. Let's go to Tennessee, where the Atlanta Falcons are -4 against the Tennessee Titans. Atlanta 5-1, coming off their first loss. Very disappointing effort against New Orleans on Thursday Night Football, where they got basically blown out. Tennessee is 1-4. They got manhandled by Miami. We'll see about Mariota. He's got the injury. Listen, I think Atlanta's going to respond in a big way here. They lost to New Orleans on Thursday Night Football. Now they had a long time to prepare for this game. Tennessee has not done much since week 1. Now you got Mariota hurt. Why is the spread only 4? I know a lot of people have jumped off the Atlanta bandwagon. What do you think? What did you think? Atlanta was going to go undefeated this year? I mean, come on. They're entitled to lose a game, right? Spread is only 4. Why? I think Atlanta responds in a big way here, and they blow out Tennessee. Have not liked what I saw at all from Tennessee the last few weeks. I mean, Miami manhandled them, so I got to think Atlanta's going to do some damage against Tennessee. I like Atlanta -4 against Tennessee in Nashville. That's pick number 7. Pick number 8. Let's go to Washington, D.C., where the Washington Redskins are -3.5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Washington 2-4 had the very, very disappointing effort in the second half against the Jets. Tampa Bay 2-3 coming off a bye. We'll see about Cousins, how long they're going to stick with him. He's been awful the last few weeks. RG3 is sitting there. To me, I got to love Washington in this game. I mean, the spread's only 3.5. Washington is home. I know they haven't played well the last few weeks, but Tampa Bay on the road, I mean, you can't trust them at all. I got to think Washington is going to handle Tampa Bay at home, right? I got to jump all over Washington here. It's only 3.5 points. I'll take Washington -3.5 against Tampa Bay in D.C. That's pick number 8. Pick number 9, let's go to Indianapolis. When the Indianapolis Colts are -5 against the New Orleans Saints, Indianapolis 3-3. They lost to New England. I'll tell you, Indianapolis hasn't looked all that great, this whole year, but there they are sitting in first place. That division is awful. New Orleans 2-4. They did show some life against Atlanta last Thursday night. They actually played a pretty decent game. Spread is 5. I don't love either team. I think both teams are very fluid. So saying that, I'm going to say it's a close game. So I'm going to take New Orleans +5 here. Now, I don't love New Orleans, but Indianapolis has not showed me much, that they should be a 5-point favorite over anyone this year. I think the game is close. It could go either way. I'll take New Orleans +5 against the Colts in Indianapolis. That's pick number 9. Pick number 10. Let's go out to San Diego, where the San Diego Chargers are -4 against the Oakland Raiders. San Diego is 2-4, had the heartbreaking loss to Green Bay, where Phillip Rivers threw for 500 yards, and San Diego could only score 20 points. Oakland 2-3, coming off a bye. I'm going to take San Diego here. I thought they played pretty well against Green Bay. I mean, they just couldn't get it in the end zone at the end to tie. But Phillip Rivers, 500 yards passing, that was impressive. I got to think San Diego is going to respond here. They had the tough loss to Green Bay, the heartbreaking loss to Pittsburgh before that. I know Oakland is improved this year, but I'm going to take San Diego at home, -4. I just think after a couple of tough losses, they finally get in the win column. San Diego, -4 against Oakland out in San Diego. That's pick number 10. Pick number 11. Let's go to the Meadowlands in New Jersey, not too far from here, where the New York Giants are -4 against the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants are 3-3 and played an awful game last night against the Eagles. Set football back 400 years. That was a dreadful game to watch. Dallas 2-3. We'll see if Bryant gets on the field this week. We know Romo is still out. It looks like Whedon won't be the quarterback. Looks like Dallas is going with Castle. I got to think, after the Giants was so bad last night, that they're going to respond at home here against a Dallas team that is still beat up, banged up, a lot of injuries. Remember, the Giants are still stewing over week 1 when they let that game slip away against Dallas. So I think the Giants are going to rebound off their pitiful performance last night and beat a banged-up Dallas team. Dallas has to get healthy. They have to get healthy quickly. You don't want to fall too far behind in this division. The division right now is mediocre. Everyone's kind of hanging around. Dallas gets all their guys back. I think they're the best team in the division as far as talent, but got to get these guys healthy. I'll take the Giants -4 against Dallas in the Meadowlands. That's pick number 11. Pick number 12. Let's go down to Carolina, where the Carolina Panthers are -3 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Carolina 5-0 went on the road and beat Seattle and looked good doing it. Cam Newton rallying the troops again. Carolina was hungry for this victory. They hung in the game. Give him all sorts of credit. Olsen was huge. Like I said, Cam Newton making big plays. Defense hung in there. I love what I'm seeing from Carolina. They are battling. They're showing a lot of heart. Great job by them. Philadelphia has put some things together. They are now 3-3. They've won a couple in a row, and there they are sitting in first place. It's tough back-to-back for Philadelphia. Had the Monday night win against the Giants. Now you got a short week. Got to go into Carolina against that ferocious Carolina team. I got to like Carolina here. I mean, they keep finding ways to win. They look like they're really inspired this year. It's a tough back-to-back for Philly on a short week. I got to go with Carolina here. Carolina -3 against the Eagles in Carolina. That's pick number 12 in a very, very nice game. Pick number 13, let's go to Kansas City, where the Pittsburgh Steelers are -2 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Pittsburgh is 4-2 and doing some job without Roethlisberger after they had that heartbreaking loss to Baltimore. They pull off the improbable win against San Diego. And how about the nice win against Arizona? Vic goes out of the game. The third-string quarterback comes in. Pittsburgh really responds. They do some great things on defense. Gutty win by Pittsburgh. Doing a nice job hanging in there without Roethlisberger. Kansas City 1-5. Like I said a couple weeks ago, their season is over. They are done. Why is this spread only 2 points? Why is the spread only 2 points? I mean, I know Roethlisberger probably won't play this week. Why in the world is this spread 2 points? Pittsburgh just beat Arizona. I mean, they're going to be able to handle Kansas City no matter who the quarterback is. Pittsburgh has a lot of weapons on offense. Kansas City is a dreadful team. I'll jump all over the Steelers here. They're just better than the Chiefs. Pittsburgh -2 against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. That's pick number 13. And pick number 14, the Monday night game, the Arizona Cardinals -7.5 against the Baltimore Ravens. Arizona 4-2, disappointing loss to Pittsburgh. Baltimore 1-5 and falling apart. They lose to the Niners. Baltimore is going nowhere fast. You got to think on Monday Night Football, Arizona now taking a couple losses. They got to feel a little angry. They had a lot of chances to win that game against Pittsburgh, left a lot of points out there. Gotta feel like they let that game slip away, Arizona. They're going to come back now very angry at home against a Baltimore Raven team that looks just like they just can't get out of their own way. And Baltimore, tough back-to-back trips. Got to go all the way to San Francisco. Then you got to go all the way to Arizona the week after that. So tough back-to-back for a 1-5 team. I'll jump all over Arizona here. I think Arizona's going to respond in a big way. They should be very, very angry come Monday night. Arizona -7.5 against Baltimore in Arizona. That is your Monday night game. 4 teams have a bye. Chicago, Cincinnati, Denver and Green Bay. So that is your NFL picks for week number 7. Real quickly on the college football, as far as over the weekend, how about Michigan State winning that game over Michigan? One of the greatest endings in college football history. Alabama just smacked around A&M, ran 3 interceptions back for touchdowns. LSU hung on and beat Florida. Ohio State rolled. Watch out for Ohio State. They could be peaking now. Utah, Clemson, Baylor, TCU, Florida State, Iowa, Houston, Toledo, Memphis, they all win. They all continue to win. It was actually a decent week in college football. That Michigan State-Michigan game was one of the all-time classic endings. I mean, it's just unbelievable ending. As far as this week in college football, it's a very light week. College game day is going to be in James Madison. That's how light of a week it is in college football. So here are my picks for college football week 8, and it was a very light week. I had a tough time coming up with any games, really. I'll give you 6 games. Pick number 1, Navy at home, -23 against Tulane. Navy is 4-1. They lost to Notre Dame. Now they had a week off to stew about their loss. Tulane is an awful football team. They cannot beat anyone. I've picked against them the whole year. I've won every time I've picked against them. I'll jump all over Navy. Navy will crush Tulane. Navy -23 over Tulane. That's pick number 1. Pick number 2. Let's go to Marshall, where Marshall is -29 against North Texas State. Marshall is 6-1 and having a decent year. North Texas State is 0-6, and they've given up in the last 4 weeks 49, 55, 62, and 66 points. That's not good. Marshall will roll in this game, so I like Marshall -29 against North Texas State. That's pick number 2. Pick number 3, let's go to Air Force, where Air Force is -17 against Fresno State. Air Force is 3-3. They're looking to get a couple more wins to be bowl eligible. Fresno State is 2-5 and an awful team. This is not the Fresno State, of years ago. This is a bad Fresno State team. Air Force should roll in this game. I like Air Force -17 at home against Fresno State. Pick number 4, let's go to Central Florida, where Houston is -21 against Central Florida. Houston is undefeated. Central Florida hasn't won a game. Enough said. Houston can score on anyone. They'll pick the number of points they want to put up in this game. They could get 56 in this game. Central Florida, I mean, just like Fresno State, not what we used to seeing from them. Central Florida is 0-6 and dreadful this year. Haven't won a game. Houston will cruise in this game. I like Houston -21 against Central Florida. That's pick number 4. Pick number 5, let's go down to Atlanta, where Florida State is -5 against Georgia Tech. Florida State undefeated, still alive for the Final Four. Have the big game against Clemson in a couple weeks. Georgia Tech is now 2-5, have lost 5 straight. And I've mentioned this 5 weeks in a row. Herb Street picked Georgia Tech to make the Final Four. I mean, Georgia Tech is awful. And I don't want to hear about this triple option and how hard it is to prepare. Very overrated. They've now lost 5 straight games. 5 straight teams have had no problem stopping that triple option. I like Florida State -5 against Georgia Tech. Why is the spread only 5? Georgia Tech's lost to everyone the last 5 weeks, and Florida State is undefeated. FSU -5. That is pick number 5. And my last pick, to me, is the game of the day in college football. USC is at home -3.5 against Utah. Utah, of course, undefeated. I mean, they're alive for the Final Four playoffs. USC has 3 losses. Lost to Notre Dame. The coach, he gets fired as well. Why is USC favored here? Showing no respect for Utah at all. Utah should be favored in this game. I know the game's in the Coliseum, but USC's already lost a few games at home this year. What has USC shown you this year? They give up points to everyone. Utah at least can make some stops. This is totally disrespectful to Utah. On general principle, I'm taking Utah +3.5 at SC. And what I think is the game of the day, that shows you how light the college football schedule is. Like I said, game day is at James Madison. USC, Utah is probably the best game, and USC's got 3 losses. A couple other games you may want to keep an eye on. Alabama, Tennessee, I guess it's a big rivalry, but you expect Alabama to get through there. Clemson at Miami is an interesting game. Miami's got a couple of losses. Clemson's still undefeated. That could be an interesting game. You might want to keep an eye on that. But it is a light schedule in college football. When game day is at James Madison, it's a light schedule. I thought last week was good in college football. this week is flat out awful. I had a tough time coming up with any picks. So there are your picks for week 8 in college football. As far as the baseball, the Mets are up 2-0 against the Cubs. Game 3 tonight at Wrigley Field. I would hope the Cubs would win to get some life into this series. You want to see Wrigley Field, going crazy. If the Mets win tonight and go up 3-0, there is no juice left in this series at all. So you'd like to see the Cubs win tonight to have some drama in this series. But I'll tell you, the Mets are tough with that pitching. They just keep throwing arms out there day after day after day. I mean, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Max, Harvey, and these guys are young. You're going to be seeing a lot of them for years to come. So Mets up 2-0, Game 3 tonight at Wrigley. Kansas City is up 2-1 against Toronto. Game 4 today in Toronto. We'll see if Toronto can even the series. They got back into it yesterday with the big win at home. Toronto plays much better at home. I mean, they hit the ball out of the ballpark left and right at that Rogers Center. What a great hitting ballpark. Crowd is amazing up there in Toronto, especially when the dome is closed. We'll see if Toronto can even the series tonight. Okay, there you go. You guys are all caught up. You guys are all set. You have your NFL picks. You have your college picks. You got your baseball. You got a lot to watch. You guys, thanks for bearing with me. I've been very sick the last few days. I'm struggling to get through this, but I wanted to give you my picks for the week. You guys, thanks as always for the support. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. Pick a lot of winners this week. Make a lot of money, and I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Take care.